Hello, 411. For my comprehension lesson, don't have any fancy props or goofy things to act out. I'm probably going to just do a lot of talking, but trust me, if you're watching, if you're listening, I'm going to come around and have a point to all of it at some point in time. So, I got World Cup fever, soccer fever. I got my soccer tie on, and I point that out not because I'm a good-looking guy wearing my tie, but because this might be a conversation for another day, another time, another platform, but I feel these connections are really important. I make it a point to do this all the time, and I try to build those personal relationships and make connections with all the students in my class, and in the school for that matter. And I think, one, that goes a long way, but I'm saying that as it pertains to my comprehension lesson today because the strategy I'm using, I grabbed off of adlit.org. Thanks for the awesome website, Dr. Walker. Everything adolescent literature, and they have, I was trying to create, well, what is the name of the strategy? they name it Author and You. And I am a firm believer that whenever a student, or any reader for that matter, can connect to the story personally, they're going to, one, be more engaged, they're going to be more interested, and they're going to wind up comprehending and learning more from the text when they can make those personal connections to it. So what this strategy is going to do, and where we as teachers have to work really hard to sometimes steer them in the right direction or dig up and let them know that yes, they do in fact have connections to this story. And the reason I point out the soccer tie and building those relationships with the students is we do this through modeling. While you're reading, and I know sometimes this can be frowned upon, and I'm the world's worst at beginning to talk on a conversation, and I'll have 9 side conversations and I'll get long-winded, and next thing you know, an hour's gone by and we didn't do anything on the real lesson, or just in life conversating or conversing with people, you know, at the Walmart, you know. An hour later I'll run in to grab milk and I'm still talking, as I'm starting to do now. So model your own personal connections throughout reading in the story. One, you're building teacher-student relationship, and you're also modeling the fact that, wow, even though they're talking about a whaler in the late 1700s, shipwrecked on an iceberg, living in igloos with Eskimos, I still can make a connection and have a personal connection with this story, and I really think that leads to more comprehension and understanding and learning of the text. So without further ado, I am going to use my Iceberg Hermit text as my example for today. This is the one that I used on Learning Module 3, I believe, where I did the Reader's Theater. So I'm going to use that exact text that I performed in the Reader's Theater as my example. And that text went through, and it was the conversation towards the end of the story where Alan, the young man who was shipwrecked, finally hears word from his brother, Eskimo, because he's lived with these guys for several years now, and they took him in as one of their own, as family, but the young man Alan, he still yearns to go back home and live amongst his own people at his home. You know, I mean, that's a tough life, but he's adapted and he has grown to love the Eskimos. But after 7 years lost and living with Eskimos, he still yearns to go back home to his family, to his people, to his land that he's familiar with. And so it's a pretty intense conversation because the Eskimos didn't really want to tell Alan that they had seen the whaling ships nearby. They were kind of hesitant to do that because, one, they're going to miss him, and they also believe a lot in spirits, which kind of brings us back to our anchor text where my bears in the Seeker story, they see a lot of spirits and they follow all this. So that's all stuff too that you can integrate into history lessons about different cultures and belief systems. But so how can I relate to, again, a whaler, early late 1700s, stranded, living on an iceberg, in igloos with Eskimos? Well, that's where throughout the whole reading, you need to start sharing your own experiences and showing, hey, we have connections here. And then when it comes here, the kids are like, well, I've lived here in this small town my whole life. I've never moved anywhere. Then you can be like, I'm sorry, I just read an article, I hate using the like. Then you can share your own experience, say, you know, I went and visited my cousins one summer. And although I was really excited to go back home to see all my own friends, that summer while staying with my cousins, I made friends with all of my cousins' friends. And I became really close with them that summer because we get together and we go swimming and we play kickball and then we go fishing together. And those became my really good summer friends. And I was really sad to see them go and to leave them. But at the same time, I was really excited to go back home to my own friends in my own familiar place. And then, how many light bulbs are you going to see go off in the classroom when you share that story? How many hands are going to go up and the kids are going to say, oh, yeah, and they're all going to want to share their story about one summer staying with their cousins and making a new friend through their cousin. And, you know, use your best judgment in regulating that discussion. But I always think that healthy discussion is good because you just sparked off an idea, a connection, a personal connection to the story you're reading, which I think shows comprehension. And as long as you give students a reason to make a personal relationship or connection with the story, they're going to comprehend better, they're going to have that purpose, they're going to be more engaged, more enthused, more inclined, more motivated, which are all things that we're looking for. And I truly believe that all of those things combined is going to lead to better comprehension, better understanding, which is going to lead to learning more and boosting levels across the whole spectrum of English and language arts. So I hope this kind of hits the mark. I didn't do any drawing, I didn't have any funny things, I was just discussing the whole time. Again, I chose this from The Iceberg Hermit. This is my one level higher book. I used this in my Reader's Theater, and I've connected it to my anchor text, which is The Melting Sea in the Seeker series. So again, a personal favorite of mine, even as a grown man. I really love this book by Arthur Roth, and that's my text comprehension strategy. Again, I found on adlit.org, great website that you introduced us to, Dr. Walker. Appreciate that one. Extra little brownie point there for giving you the shout out. Take care, 411. We're nearing the end. I'll see everybody later. Bye.